Welcome to the Three Man Weave College Basketball Podcast. That's right. The boys are back again, and we're feeling fresh and flirty. Well, two of us are anyways, Jim. Unfortunately, our dear friend Matthew is not with us today. He's sick. Babies, as you know, I assume, Jim, get parents sick, although he says the kid's doing fine, which is good. Yes, so just a two-man episode between me and Jim. Hi, Jim. How are you? My name's Kai.
I'm good, Kai. It's great to be with you. Matt is really going method in this college basketball season by getting ill the way half of the sport is and really embracing that theme. Unfortunately, that leaves us to pick up the pieces, Kai, talking hoops, but we're going to do it. We're going to power through. We've got conference tournaments approaching. We're recording this on the eve of March, as I am so consistently annoyed by John Rothstein's tweets that we are getting ever closer, 1 hour at a time. I can't believe he did that for 48 hours. That is absolutely ridiculous. But it's okay because the best is around the corner, the best month of the year.
It is indeed, Jim. Apologies if you're hearing feedback of the mic on YouTube. I'm working on it. We got a good show for you today. We're talking conference tournament previews coming up later in the show. That's right, next week we get the actual start of postseason play. We're very excited about that, Jim. The ASUN tips off on Sunday. Hooray, hurrah. Mizzou, Mizzou. Of course, we're going to do our We Saw That, our three-man thoughts, and our Roots Roundup to get you caught up on the news and notes from last week. A little self-promotion, 3MW_CBB. That's where you can find us on Twitter and Instagram. Please do check it out if you feel so inclined on the social media front. And then join our Discord, guys. We have a Discord with Trilly Donovan. It's fantastic. Burner Ball is what it's called. Fantastic community that Trilly has cultivated over the past year plus, and we have tried to make it better. Hopefully we have. We talk betting in there. We talk college basketball in general in there. We talk anything you want, college basketball related. We're in there all the time. Great community of people. Highly recommend you check it out. The link is in the description if you are interested in joining. And also, Jim, I think we should plug the GOAT Conference Pool because it is the best conference tournament pool, I think, in the entire world. Stuckey, some of you might know him from the Action Network. He's a big proponent of this pool. He's been kind of co-running it for years with Tom over from Saber Golf, and it's fantastic. It is a $100 buy-in, so if that's too much for you, totally understand. But if you're interested, you pick every single game, you pick every single winner. It's a fun scoring system. Over 500 entries last year. That link is in our Twitter past tweets, but if you're curious and you can't find it, just reach out to us. We'll let you know. Jim finished second 1 year in the pool. That's very exciting.
Yeah, it was awesome. It's just a great pool because you get to involve yourself in every tournament. And as you're going through, you're not just waiting for when's the Big 12 quarterfinals finally going to be here? When is the ACC actually, the big guns, going to show? You're incentivized to pick upsets. You're incentivized to pick champions that aren't necessarily the favorite in the league. So it makes for a nice mix. You get to worry about the 13 seed versus the 12 seed in the MAC conference. So it just makes what is already arguably one of the best, maybe the best week. I don't know. One of the best weeks in the college basketball schedule, even better. So definitely get in there and see if you like it. It's a grind. It's intense. There's daily picks, and you got to remember to do them every single day. There are default picks if you don't submit, but it's more fun if you're picking every day. So get in there and see if you like it.
Absolutely. Well, let's get into the show and see if you like it. Roost Roundup time, news and notes. Here we go.
Let's do it, Kai. I'm getting into Roots Roundup, but before we do, going to give a shout out to CBB Analytics, a loyal sponsor of this pod and a website that we frequently use. I know when Matt does a little ad read, he's pushing the newest features. I'm going to go old school because I'm an old fool who's so cool. And we're going to talk about some of the things that I just love on the site that I use constantly. That would be some of the on-off measurements, both offense, defense, and then you have some pace measurements in there for it kind of helps with injury impact or just when you're evaluating a team. There's great shot charts, visual for every single team and player. You get a sense for where the shots are coming from, what kind of efficiency each guy and each team has from those places, and really a million other things. It is one of the most in-depth websites you can find. It's like Hermione's bag, Kai. You just keep going, and there's more and more all the way at the bottom. So that's right. Cross-referencing Harry Potter with a college basketball statistics website. That's nerd on nerd. A hat on a hat. Regardless, get to cbbanalytics.com, promo code WEAVE, and try it out. It'll get you $40 off your initial sign up, which I believe is a full month. Yeah, promo code WEAVE, CBB Analytics. As we head into March, no better site to help you out with your handicapping or your analysis as you're trying to get into the bracket world, bracket pool. Check out CBB Analytics, promo code WEAVE. Okay, news and notes. Let's get to it. First, we have a coaching bit. Kai, Utah's Craig Smith. Utah parts ways with Craig Smith, I guess is how it's officially worded. It's tough. It was pretty clear the Utes did not give him a overflowing amount of NIL, and he kind of had to piece together a roster with some spare parts. And while other coaches, some were able to do that, it really is a big disadvantage, especially in a league like the Big 12, Utah making that pivot from the Pac-12. So bummer to see Craig Smith go, a guest on this podcast back in the COVID days.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious what direction Utah goes in. Our guy Trilly Donovan floated a early favorite name in the Discord. I'll implore people to join if they want to find out who that name is. But kind of Josh Eilert's interim. And you pointed this out on Twitter. 2 straight years in the same conference. Josh Eilert is the interim coach.
Yeah, how crazy is that? Has that ever happened before? He was at West Virginia last year, for those who are unaware, took over for Bob Huggins. And now he's at Utah, filling in for Craig Smith. Back-to-back interim coach in the same league at 2 different programs is quite something. Yeah, Craig.
You have to wonder if he's a coach killer. Did he put the beers in Bob Huggins' car? Did he sabotage the Utah team this year? You just gotta wonder.
It makes one wonder. You have to ask the question, Jim.
Yes.
Yeah, tough. Listen, we don't know the behind the scenes, of course, but tough shake for Craig Smith if there's nothing behind the scenes. Whether donors don't want to donate and don't believe in him heck, he's been at the head of this program for 3.5 years. Did he improve upon Larry Krystkowiak? Not necessarily, Jim, but in the NIL world, Utah was behind the 8 ball, and they joined a new league this year, and I would say are overperforming in that league right now. Many expect them to finish last. This program has been to 3 NCAA tournaments in 20 years. So I don't know what the expectations are for the Utes. It's clearly a more football-driven school, but yeah, I think Craig Smith will get another job. I think he's a really good coach still. So yeah, hope for the best for him, and hey, hopefully Utah finds their guy next search.
Yeah, I heavily implore anybody that if you need a coach down a level or something, Craig Smith is going to win. He won 48 games his final 2 years at South Dakota.
Yeah.
He won 28 and 26 his first 2 at Utah State, and then 20 and made the tournament. Made the tournament his 3rd year at Utah State. The only reason he won only 20 is because it was the COVID shortened year. He would have won another 25 that year. So I fully believe in him as a coach. Just maybe didn't work out at Utah. And I think Utah is also looking at BYU and the ever-flowing infinite money cheat hack that they have over there. And they're going to try to find some sort of rallying point around that. So, yeah, bummer to Craig Smith, but it's the start of the carousel. It continues to move.
Mm-hmm.
One aspect of the carousel it seems will not move is UNC. That seat is going to stay occupied. Hubert Davis received an extension through 2030. Now, people are probably going to be like, holy crud, how did this guy get an extension? It's kind of one of those faux extensions where the buyout didn't really increase to anything scary. Like if they want to get rid of him, they still can. But it's funny optics as they kind of flounder through the season, are on the outside looking in, right near the bubble right now, despite a bunch of hype and having an All-American, at least coming into the year. So it's just funny to see, Kai, like the amount of people are like, what? He got an extension?
Yeah, you see this kind of occasionally, Jim, with a precursor to firings where the guy gets extended. No one knows why. You're right. It's usually the buyout thing. I don't think this one, did it decrease his buyout?
I don't think it decreased, but the buyout is not surmountable, or it's not insurmountable by any means.
Yeah. Again, I'll crow a little bit again. Funny how UNC fans suddenly want him fired after talking a lot of crap last year, after we talked crap on him 2 years ago. Funny how it works, Jim. What have you done for me lately is the world we live in.
That's right. That's right. Sad Matt's not here to gloat about, oh, that's too bad. UNC is keeping Hubert Davis. Although, hey, Hubert Davis ended the Coach K era. So UNC's always got those little bragging rights of winning at Cameron and winning at the Final Four in Coach K's final season. Okay, injury news in the Duke world, Kai. Tyrese Proctor had a knee hyperextension. Looked kind of scary in the replay. It sounds like it's not going to be season ending, but he is going to miss time. I saw a couple Duke accounts debating like when do you actually want him back? How much time should we give him even if he gets cleared? It's always kind of a tricky thing as we get into the tournament. The guy's trying to come back. How big of a deal is this in your mind with Malik Brown also kind of dealing with that separated shoulder issue? And quite honestly, Proctor's had some really big games in some of Duke's biggest moments.
I think it's a big deal, Jim. If you're talking title, and I think you are for Duke, that's the expectation, winning the championship. I think you need all hands on deck, at least from the guard tandem. I think you can get away with Malik Brown, and I think Malik Brown's very good. But I think they have enough depth there to make up for that. Not saying they don't have a lot of guard depth, but I think Proctor really is important. He's underrated. He is their best shooter, and he's another ball handler. Doesn't hurt in March time, so I do think they need him. Hopefully he gets back. I say hopefully kind of tongue in cheek. I'm not exactly rooting for Duke, Jim, but I want everybody to be healthy in college basketball at least.
Yeah, exactly. I want them to be the best version of themselves and still lose. That's fine with me. That
Exactly.
works.
Yeah, full
Yeah,
strength loss.
Proctor looked like the biggest adult on the floor when they were at Clemson. He had 23 points, arguably his best game of the year. In the one like close ACC game Duke has played, he was really good against Kansas all the way back on the neutral floor in November. I think he's really important as they get to higher level competition deeper into the tournament. So curious to see if he is able to look like himself come the big dance. You know, he's got plenty of time, at least 3 weeks to get back. Other random news and notes. The odds in the Player of the Year race flipped back to Janai Broom yesterday, Kai.
Hmm.
I did. You have the ultimate Broom ticket, so I'll let you brag about that in a second. But I did take some Broom a little bit ago and was happy to see this. It gave me a chance to get a little bit of flag, so now I'm guaranteed some profit. Feels good. But why do we think this is? I mean, it came on the heels of Auburn winning by 30 against Ole Miss,
Yeah,
and Broom had a good game, but not like the holy crap swing the odds type of game. So it's a little bit of a eyebrow raiser, to say the least.
Jim. If my best here's my best guess setup in the market. I don't think anybody has. The only way it should flip like this, if you have inside information that flag is out for whatever reason, I don't think that's the case. I did go ahead and I do have Broom 50-1. It is a baby bet. Don't
50 to 1.
don't
What a
congratulate me.
stud.
I wish I
I
would have
will.
put way more
I
on
will
that.
congratulate you.
Um,
This could be two of the last 3 years you've hit a 50 to 1 player of the year,
yeah,
right? Didn't you have Edie?
I did have 2 years ago. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Well, I did hedge out with flag though. At least some of it. Plus 195 was what it was, and now of course it got up to 200 because I think flag wins the award. I think Broom deserves it, of course, but I think flag deserves it just as much. And I kind of said in the Discord, people have Ken Pom now. Duke's number one in Ken Pom, flag's number one in Ken Pom Player of the Year. Now, if Auburn runs the table the rest of the way, number one overall seed, that's a strong driver, and I think between two players that equally deserve the award, you might default to the number one team in the country in the AP poll. That's Auburn right now. Counting stats are really similar. It's going to be interesting to see. I can see him going co-player of the year, Jim. That would actually be a fantastic scenario for people that have both flag and Broom. If you have books that pay out both sides, split it. But yeah, I think flag wins, Jim. But I'm surprised that the odds flipped.
It's one of the strongest Wooden Award races we've ever seen.
It is.
Just it's the two best teams in the country, and they both have an unbelievable player leading the way. Last year, Zach Edey was kind of in this discussion as one of the best teams in the country. He's right up there. But I mean, this isn't like Oscar Tshiebwe winning the award or even like Luka Garza for a 2 seed. Like this is the pinnacle performance. Like Trae Young won it for a 10 seed or whatever, or I guess Brunson did beat him out.
Yeah.
But this is as good as it gets, and it's going to be a bummer for whichever guy doesn't win it because they both put forth really an incredible campaign. So it's just kind of funny to see that how it's been dancing back and forth. And Kai, real quick, Kansas' streak of 80 straight weeks in the AP poll came to an end this week.
Delicious.
Evil laugh, evil laugh, evil laugh. They have bounced back a little bit, but we're going to discuss the Jayhawks in one of my thoughts. So not going to get into it too much. But just kind of wild to see. A team that is a fixture in the AP poll every single week is taking a little bit of a respite from that ranking.
How sad. Anyways, MIZ. Okay, we've saw that, Jim, is where we're going to head next year. Good Roots Roundup. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh, appreciate. Yeah, good. Yeah.
Let's start off with Michigan because Michigan won on a buzzer beater against Rutgers just recently, yesterday at the Chrysler Center. They are now 9-3, Jim, Michigan, in their last 12 games. And they have not won a single one of those 9 games by more than 4 points in that span. That is crazy. I had a Providence guy on Twitter say, and yet no one says they're lucky. I'm saying it right now, man. They're lucky. I think we've been saying it for weeks, but Providence did get a lot of flack for being the most lucky team in the country for KenPom a couple years back. Michigan's like 40th in KenPom in luck. In real life, Jim, they're lucky. I'm saying it. You're saying it. What's the point differential over that span?
In those 12 games, -17.
-17. How about that?
They've scored less points than their opponents and are 9-3. Like that doesn't, it boggles the mind. It doesn't make sense. Yes, they have one blowout win in there, but they don't do anything convincingly. And yeah, there's a lot of really good shot making luck for them. Like just this week alone, Namari Burnett hits a 29-footer at the buzzer on a broken-ish play. 5 days after Connor Essegian misses a wide open 3 to beat them at Nebraska, you flip those 2 plays that could have gone pretty much either way, and suddenly they've lost both those games, and they're 7-5 over the span, and it doesn't look quite as great for them. And that's another little thing to mention with the Kai. The Essegian shot was after they intentionally or unintentionally fouled up 3 with 12 seconds left, and a team that's not an altogether great free throw shooting team, and they hacked a 90% free throw shooter. So then he makes 2, they miss a front end. Nebraska has the ball down 1 and almost wins in regulation, and they got lucky from the miss. So not an infinite win hack the way some people treat it. And yeah, Michigan, you've been lucky. Like if you're a fan, it probably gets annoying to hear people say that. I think that's why Providence fans are still bitter this many years later. Just embrace it. You're winning games. It's true. It is true that you are experiencing good fortune. I'd rather experience good fortune than not. Kai, our Mizzou Tigers lost on a buzzer beater to Texas A&M. Would have been awesome if he had just missed that shot instead.
It would have been, Jim. It's extra interesting because Michigan is in first place in the Big Ten. So it's not like this is like inconsequential. They are in first place in the Big Ten, tied with Michigan State currently. I think Michigan State probably has a tiebreaker. They're 6th in KenPom rank-wise in the Big Ten. So just kind of tells you the discrepancy between actual results and analytical results right now. Okay, best weeks in the country. About BYU and Mr. Vanderbilt. That's how you do it, bubble teams. Jim, I know you have a thought later on about bubble teams, so we'll holster a lot of our thoughts, but BYU, they beat Arizona at Arizona. They beat Arizona State at Arizona State, so swept the desert trip. And Vandy beat Ole Miss, won at Texas A&M, enormous win. I would say, BYU is definitely in. I think Vandy punched their ticket, and I'm glad, Jim. Hooray for Vanderbilt. Way to go.
Yeah, again, we'll get to the thought, but it's just nice. Everybody's like, oh, the bubble stinks, nobody's good. And then a couple teams like this just go and assert themselves. And yeah, Vanderbilt's very fun. The total rebuild by Byington is mega impressive, and they needed a road win. What do? They go beat a team that the committee told us was a 2 seed on the road.
Yeah. Houston, congratulations, Cougars. You have clinched the top seed in the Big 12 tournament. They beat Iowa State. They won at Texas Tech in a revenge game. Now, there are a lot of haters out there, Jim, saying that Houston, they did beat both teams down 2 starters. Each team was down 2 starters. That is a fact. But I was getting responses after kind of saying how good Houston was about, oh yeah, let's see them beat real teams without injuries. Jim, if they lost both those games, they're still in first place in the Big 12.
Yeah, they'd be up a game.
Up
still.
a game.
I don't. Yeah, it's maybe I'm like throwing and punching at scarecrows here, and there's just not that many Houston haters left.
There still are.
Okay.
No, there are.
No.
Yeah, they were up by 11 on Auburn. They Alabama overtime, San Diego State overtime. Those are their losses this year. Texas Tech overtime, 3 overtime losses, and you're up double digits on the best team in the country. And people still think they can't compete with the elite teams in the country. I'm telling you, they can. This team's awesome still.
Yeah, it's the best shooting team Samson's ever had there, and they're also unbelievable at defense. It's kind of the symptom of, oh, they're really good a bunch of years in a row, but they didn't win a title, so this team must be a
Exactly.
fraud.
Yeah.
Like the Gonzaga effect, Villanova with Jay Wright for a while, Virginia with Tony Bennett for a long time, and it's just one team wins a title every year. It's really freaking hard to do, and I'm not gonna condemn Houston for that. They have as good a shot as almost anyone this year.
I had to laugh. One guy said, "Yeah, and they'll lose in the first couple rounds of the tournament, just like they always do. Sweet 16, Sweet 16, Elite Eight, Final Four. Those are the last 4 years for Houston in the tournament. So they're doing something at least in the tournament every single season." Okay, Michigan State. We mentioned them a little bit in the Big Ten section with Michigan, but two huge wins. They beat Michigan at Michigan, one of Michigan's few losses in that stretch, and they beat Maryland at Maryland, and it was an awesome finish. Jim Trey Holloman. Half quarter. First of all, Michigan State up pretty much the entire game. Maryland, great comeback. Suck with them the entire game, too. They got up. Tie ball game. Maryland comes down. Shoots a three. A little bit quick. Probably around 4 seconds left. Gillespie, he misses it perfectly. So the rebound kind of bounces towards the other way, towards the other direction. Holloman gets it clean. Launches it from half court. And kaboom. Makes it. Michigan State wins.
Yeah, it was a brutal loss for Maryland. And I think somebody on Twitter put together the last three losses for Maryland. One was a buzzer beater at Northwestern in overtime with .7 left. Nick Martinelli hits a jumper. One was a banked three at Ohio State by Bruce Thornton with like 8 seconds left. And then this Mondo 60-footer by Holloman. I saw Gillespie getting a lot of crap for that shot, Kai. And generally, yes, I want you attacking the rim. But he took that with the right amount of time left, I
Yeah.
think. You kind of want time for an offensive rebound. If you lose on a 60-footer,
Right.
you didn't do that much wrong. And the way, like you said, it bounced perfectly to kind of get them going towards the other basket. Michigan State got the ball 2 seconds left, 80 feet from the basket. You take that every time. Like I'm okay with the shot he took. I don't think he should get completely buried. Again, I always prefer
No.
you going to the rim, but it's not like he took it with 9 seconds left and gave them a whole possession.
I don't think he had a ton of time to get to the rim, and I don't fault Gillespie at all. Yeah, it's a half-court shot. What can you do? It was a perfect miss. You had to miss perfectly for that to happen. And also, he got a pretty good look, and he almost hit it. And he's a great shooter. You want him to shoot the ball at the end. So, yeah, no fault of Maryland's. Michigan State, huge win, though. And we move on to, unfortunately, Arkansas. Arkansas did beat Mizzou, and they beat Texas, and John Calipari, after his start to the season, 0-5 in the SEC, it looks like he's going to go dancing, Jim. The mega donors of Arkansas can breathe a sigh of relief. Side note, Arkansas, Texas, Trey Johnson is really, 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 really good. He is quite the freak, quite good at basketball.
Yeah, before the season, Kai, I compared him to Cam Thomas, just like bucket getter. Like
Buckets.
he's not unbelievably explosive. He's not going to wow you with like crazy dunks. He just scores. And I found it appropriate that during that game, said I think it was freshman to lead either a power conference or the SEC in scoring. And he and Cam Thomas are two of the people
Yeah.
that have done it. So yeah, incredible shot maker when he gets going. Bummer that they weren't able to pull that one out. But yeah, Arkansas got in good shape here. They were down at halftime to Mizzou, came back and won, survived a near collapse here against Texas. It looks good for them right now. They've still got a couple tough games here at the end. You could drop one in South Carolina the same way Texas did. But yeah, I think we will see the Hogs in the big dance.
Yeah, I took a small no bet on them, too, when they were looking bad, which is unfortunate, but hey, that's what you do. I also have a no bet on Texas, Jim. That's alive, but I don't feel good about it. How about Indiana, Jim? The Hoosiers. Matt's Hoosiers. Matt's not here once again. He's wearing Yoshi if you want to see him on YouTube. First of all, this started with beating Michigan State at Michigan State. Okay, you have my curiosity. Now you have my attention. You beat Purdue at Assembly Hall, smoked them in the second half. It was like 28-3 run in the second half after Purdue led by, I want to say, 7 at the break.
Yeah,
they were up.
Yeah, they paddled them in the second half. It was a beatdown.
And then they beat Penn State. So the tournament is very much alive for Indiana, who's 8-9 in the Big Ten. They have 17 wins. They're clear of that like eyesore record right now. They are right on the bubble, and you got at Washington, you got at Oregon, and you got home Ohio State the rest of the way. You win 2 out of 3, Jim, and Ohio State's going to be quite the game for the bubble. It's going to be interesting. The Hoosiers could get there, which is nuts considering the discourse around Woodson, the program, and where they started and kind of lulled this season.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun little stretch because going west has been tough for some of the teams. Purdue handled it, Illinois handled it really well, but going all the way to the Pacific Northwest this late in the year, we'll see what kind of effect that has on them. And then yeah, that Ohio State game will be what we call the jet lag game, where they're coming west to east and got to take on a team that is in such a bubble brawl. Ohio State's last 2 games, Nebraska and Indiana. It's like the 3 teams that are in the mix,
Yeah.
all kind of going at it. So we're going to see if anybody separates themselves. But respect to the Hoosiers. They were able to rally. That second half against Purdue was wildly impressive. Like it just felt like one team was playing with concrete shoes on, and surprisingly, it was not the Hoosiers. Malik Reneau misses the Penn State game. Good, bad, who knows? Forces them to play a little bit smaller. I think that's always the route for Indiana to go. But it would be wild to see them in the tournament, given the narrative around the team and how bad things were going at one point.
Yeah. Hey, sticking in the Big Ten, Oregon, they've won 4 straight, monster week. They were down 14 at Wisconsin at the Kohl Center with about 6 minutes left to go. 1% chance win probability per KenPom, and they win in overtime. Enormous win for the Ducks, who have not been as good as we expected this season after the incredible start. Right? They started 9-0, beat Alabama. They had a 5-game losing streak in the Big Ten. They now won 4 in a row. They're kind of back. This is very typical Altman of the last few years, Jim, where he's underperforming analytically. He's going to get kind of a weird seed, and then they're going to do fine in the tournament. They're going to win some games. Heck, they might win the Big Ten tournament, Jim.
Yeah, they've shown their ability to play up. Like their best is when they're playing against really good teams. They're tied for 3rd in the country with the most Q1 wins, and it's tied with they're behind Auburn, Alabama, and then they're tied with like Tennessee, one seed candidates, and then you have Oregon kind of weirdly lurking there. My guy Jackson Shelstad, Kai, while he has not been like all-American good, he's been awesome in the clutch, awesome in crunch time. He hit a crazy NBA range step back 3 to send that Wisconsin game to overtime. And it's just such a Peyton Pritchard body snatching. Like the comparisons are ridiculous for same high school, same number, play very similar. And now he's hitting clutch bombs the same way Pritchard did when he was at Oregon. So it's kind of funny to watch that career unfold.
Yeah, Altman needs to just keep digging from that high school, keep pulling talent every year, every 4 years, get a point guard.
Whoever Wes Lynn's point guard is,
yes.
you're just taking him. Yep.
Congrats to our outright regular season champs in conference tournaments. I have a little thought.
Regular season,
excuse me. I have a little thought on the conferences as we head into the tournaments, and of course, Jim and I will touch on some conference tournaments next week. But congrats to High Point winning the Big South, Chattanooga taking down the SoCon. What a journey that season was, Jim, after a horrible start to the non-con. Yale wins the Ivy again. Ho hum.
I mean, they might go undefeated. They're up 4 games with 3 to play.
Incredible.
I did not expect Yale to separate themselves that way.
And Darty's number 2, which is even more shocking to me.
Dartboard.
Yeah. Drake wins the Valley despite changing coaches. Yep, that program did a pretty good job hiring McCollum. Good job.
Yeah, Utah State and Drake, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Yeah. Just ridiculous.
Towson, speaking of horrible non-cons, Towson is running away with the Coastal, the CAA, Tigers. Robert Morris, the most shocking champion thus far in the Horizon. Shed a tear for Cleveland State. Long shot backers, they faltered down the stretch. Robert Morris has been incredible over the past 6 weeks or so. Very under the radar team. Very under the radar.
13 of their last 14. They won the conference outright after starting 2-4.
Incredible. Yeah, what a run. No surprise, McNeese has won the Southland. They are by far the best team in that league. Lipscomb and North Alabama will decide who wins the ASUN. They tied. Excuse me.
They shared it.
Lipscomb got the 1 seed. They actually tied for the win. Hey, I'll say this: we want the best teams in the tournament. I wouldn't mind North Alabama getting in the tournament. Tony Poole does a great job. I think has a really good team this year. Lipscomb is the best team in that league, but we'll talk about the ASUN a little bit later as well.
Yeah, I don't want to make fun of the ASUN too much yet because we can later, but I would very much prefer one of these two be the one to make it.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're getting to 16 and forgettable. SEMO back. I think they missed the tournament outright last year. That the OVC they made the tournament, NCAA tournament 2 years ago. I think they missed the OVC tournament last year, and now they won the league. So Brad Korn, a little snip, snap, Michael Scott style. Congratulations to SEMO. And then
Last year's team was so painful to watch. It
horrible
was
team.
impressive to reverse that pretty quickly. Obviously, they made some good ads in the portal and via JUCO the offseason. But yeah, well done, Mr. Corn.
Shout out Cape Girardeau, Missouri, the boot heel of Missouri. Shout out. And then Central Connecticut State, actually back to back NEC champions for Patrick Sellers. What a job he's done at the helm of CCSU. I really hope they make the tournament, man. He deserves it. That program does as well. So go Blue Devils. Go Blue Devils.
Yeah, you look back at the tenure before him, Danielle Marshall won 6, 14, 11, 4, and 5 games. Before that, Howie Dickinman won 4 games, 5 games, 11, 13, 13. And Sellers just won 20 back-to-back years. Just an incredible job there. Reminder that this team also beat St. Joe's, pushed Providence to the absolute limit, almost won at Rhode Island. This is a really good, feisty defensive team, Kai. We always remember I do this every year where I fall in love with the underdogs that are great offensive teams, but it's kind of the gritty defensive ones that can win games in different ways. So Central Connecticut could be a little stick in the mud for somebody if they win the conference tournament.
Yeah, outside chance at a 15, most likely 16, but outside chance at a 15. How about big games, Jim? Three to mention here. Bryson Dawkins for Houston Christian. I'm pretty sure he's been on this list before. 41 points, 10 boards, 2 blocks, 16 for 22 from the field. Yeah, pretty good player down there in the Southland.
He had like 26 in the first 11 minutes or something. It was just like they just gave him the ball, like walked to the other end of the floor. He went 1-on-5 and scored. The other team had no prayer. It was a wild performance. I mean, he ended up only at 41, but yeah, he was a human torch to start the game.
Speaking of Barry Dunning, 46 points for South Alabama, 4 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals on Saturday. South Alabama will be one of the many teams in the Sun Belt that can win that conference tournament, as we'll discuss later. And then finally, Otega Oweh. What a game. We love the revenge game angle with the transfer portal these days, Jim. Players playing their former schools. Well, Oweh had the former player's dream. Had 21 of Kentucky's final 23 points against Oklahoma. Had the game winner. Had the game-saving block. What a contest for Oweh, Jim.
Yeah, it was great. He was chirping with Jalen Moore of Oklahoma. Like they were going back and forth and it got bitter. I don't think these teams shook hands after the game because there was so much animosity going between them. And I keep seeing that Brandon Garrison had a game-saving block. It's just not true if you watch the play. Like Oweh hits it out of Jeremiah Fears' hand first, and then Garrison like spikes it. But I am giving full credit to Oweh on that play because he knocked it away and he was already dominating the game. So I'm tipping my cap to him. It was quite a good. They asked him after the game, like, where's this rank in your all time the best games you've played? He's like, it's one of them ones. Like, just say it's the coolest game you played. Like if you went back to Norman and you dominated. So I'm impressed.
Jim, it's why the section here is called "We've Saw That" because Jim saw the block. He knows it was Oweh and it wasn't Garrison. We saw that.
I got you.
Can't
Tega.
Can't escape from the eyes of the weave. They're upon you. Finally, bad loss section. Wake Forest, you suck. We've trashed this program so much this year because they're so freaking disappointing. They lost at NC State, and I know you wrote not awful, Jim. No, it's awful. It's awful when you're in a bubble run like Wake Forest is. You have no margin for error. You can't lose at NC State, and then you lose at home to Virginia to cap it off, cherry on top. I mean, they're done. Like I've called them done 100 times, and they somehow like sneak back in the bubble picture. I know they're technically still there, but this is ridiculous. Get out of the tournament, man.
Yeah, I don't want them in. I joked in the athletic Slack, hoo snooty, big J, that Virginia was saving us from what Virginia did to us last year with Virginia in the first four, the
Yeah,
ugly
pretty much.
performance. Had Wake gotten in there, I'm sure they would have laid a giant egg on the floor in Dayton. And so I'm pretty glad it's not going to happen because this team is maddening to watch. Kai, they got one good win over the past couple weeks. Your boy, Wilbon Cam Hildreth, did not play. Straight line? Do we draw? I don't know,
He's
connect the dots
you
there.
talk about one of the guys who I've done a 180 on this season. I thought he was a great player last year. I think he is an active team herder this season. The way he
It's
holds the ball, it's
yeah.
it's it's brutal to watch. It's horrible to watch.
You look at his past six games, 22 points, 16, 22, 23, 22, 24, and it's like kind of efficient, but it doesn't look good when you're
No,
watching it.
because he holds the ball for 15 seconds of the shot clock. It's just like it's horrible to watch. It's bad. It's making me rethink Steve Forbes, Jim. I really hate doing that. I hate doing that because I like Forbes, and I'm pretty sure he's a good coach. But this season was a debacle for Wake Forest.
Yeah, absolute debacle. Didn't solve the point guard question. Tyler Johnson never got better. And Kai, they do have the big Monday trip to Duke where they could resuscitate all of
Don't you
this
freaking
hope,
dare.
but yeah, don't. I don't want to see it.
That would be horrible for Duke futures. Uh, in the ACC as well, Pitt. What an embarrassment. Yeah, they're done as well. They lost at home to Georgia Tech. They're done for an at-large. Can't get it. Super collapse after a great non-con, and they got to top 15 in Kim Pom at one point. This team. I don't know what happened. I don't know if the fellas just stopped liking each other, but yeah, Capel, not a great look, man. After getting back in the good graces of opinions publicly, Capel, not a bad coach all of a sudden. This season was also horrible for him.
Really bad. It just kind of encapsulates the ACC, Kai. And even the teams that seemed like they were going to be good or seemed like they had hope,
Mm-hmm.
a bunch of them fell off. And we're still looking at maybe a three-team ACC. I know North Carolina's trying to get in. SMU still sort of lurking, but it's looking more and more like three teams.
Yep, and guess what? They deserve it. I don't want to hear anything. T.O., Terrence Oglesby, I love you, buddy. Your conference does not deserve more than three teams this year, and that's a fact. I don't care if Duke wins the title. That's a fact. Okay, that does it for We've Saw That. We're getting into three-man thoughts now. Of course, it's two-man thoughts this week with just old Kai and Jim. Before we do, an ad from Home Field Apparel, guys. The best premium collegiate apparel in the entire universe. They make apparel for all schools, not just your school, but his school too. Power 5 schools, D3 schools, Mizzou schools, like me and Jim. We went to Mizzou. Matt went to Indiana. They have Indiana on their school, their website, excuse me. Hey, they're even releasing NASCAR themed shirts, I think, or car shirts if you're into that sort of thing. Hey, why not? They got hockey hoodies that Jim and I have waxed poetically about on past podcasts. Joggers, hoodies, sweatshirts, hats, everything. Home Field's got it. They really do know the history of your schools, your programs, to make shirts that are actually meaningful to you. Bring back some old fight song lyrics on your shirts. Talk about games you didn't even know existed back in the day. It really is cool. Retro gear, new gear. Home Field's got it all. Go to homefieldapparel.com. Shop your school. Buy your school. Use our promo code 3MW at checkout. Get 15% off. That's homefieldapparel.com. Home Field, wear one for the team.
Get some gear. It's March.
Get
Let's
some
do
gear. It's March indeed. Jim, I'll kick it to you first for your first thought. I think we each have two this week.
Yep. We have two. Typically, we have Matt joining us with two more, or at least one long one. So maybe this will be a shorter episode. Who knows? But yeah, Kai, we hinted at it and we saw that. I want to talk about the big time bubblers, as I'm calling it. Everybody every year falls into the same old lazy trap of saying it's the weakest bubble ever at some point in February. It happens every single time like clockwork. I need someone to write up a rankings of the best and worst bubbles ever just to have proof that one is the worst and one is the best. But yeah, in February, the teams aren't done yet. The work's not done. It's like, oh, I only got a 40% on my test because you stopped halfway through. You called it. So, but this week we had some bubble teams actually really assert themselves and make a statement to the committee, hey, we belong in the tournament. So this is basically the anti-Wake Forest section. We mentioned Vanderbilt and BYU. I think they're the crown jewels of this type of team. BYU basically went from looking good to almost lock in a week. They beat Kansas at home by a bajillion points. They went at Arizona. They went at Arizona State, who had like four players left. But it just kind of validated what the numbers were saying all year. Like BYU, top 35-ish team, and finally they get the wins to back it up. And then Vandy, yeah, we mentioned had some huge home wins, beat Tennessee at home, beat Kentucky at home. Then this week they go and beat Ole Miss, and they win at Texas A&M. And it's just refreshing to see teams actually go out and get it instead of trying to back their way into the tournament.
I totally agree, Jim. Also, shout out Mark Byington, his first year at the program. This will be Vandy's first tournament appearance since Bryce Drew's 2017 team. It's their best Ken Pom rank since then as well, so he's totally revived the program. After Jerry Stackhouse, Jim did not do anything with it.
No, incredibly smart approach to the portal. If you were like an analytical evaluator of players, they were hitting home runs under the radar like over and over again, and it pretty much
Doubles,
bore out
triples,
that
lots
way.
of doubles and triples.
Doubles and triples, yeah, home runs is probably not the way to put it, but just clear like, oh, that guy's a positive contributor. Like Devin McLaughlin does a lot of stuff. Okay, he's continuing to do a lot of
Great
stuff.
kid.
And we were skeptical at AJ Hogard, but he's worked out there and
Tyler Nickel, man.
teams.
Jason
Yeah, Tyler
Edwards. These
Nichols.
guys are incredible right now.
Take transfers from North Texas.
Yeah,
They're
that's
good.
good
Like
advice.
Jason Edwards, Aaron Scott's been a pivotal part of the one of the best defenses in the entire country at St. John's. They're good players. They know how to play basketball. I'm not encouraging guys to leave North Texas. I'm just saying if they're in the portal, go ahead and take a good, hard, long look at them because they're really good players. Other teams this week, we mentioned Arkansas and Indiana, two more that went 2-0, both got big wins at home that moved the needle towards making the tournament. Again, not really backing into the tournament, actually kind of performing up to the level that they need to. And kind of Boise State, another team that kind of had a sneaky 2-0 week because they're playing when most people are asleep, but they won at Nevada, a game that counts as a Q1 game right now, where Nevada's at in the net. And Utah State, they beat them at home. They solved that zone. Really impressive stuff from the Broncos. They've now won 7 of their last 8. Leon Rice looking at his 4th straight tournament bid, and I know he's never won a game there, and 3 times he's been sent to Dayton for the first 4, and they're 0-3. But he's just been awesome as a regular season coach and deserves credit because that has not been a basketball powerhouse, and suddenly Boise is right back in the mix.
Mountain West, interesting, Jim. They got, what, 6 teams last year. It was a big deal. It was talked about a lot how they have an unfair advantage for some reason playing at home, whatever. Guess what? There's not really that discourse this year, guys. It's almost like last year those teams were actually really good. Mountain West, they could get 4 bids. I don't think they will. I think they'll get 3. I think Utah State and New Mexico are in. I think San Diego State and Boise have work to do, but this narrative's not every single year with the Mountain West. I just want to point that out.
I will be fading them in the tournament, Kai.
New
I'm still going
Mexico,
to take that approach.
I think New Mexico could do something, but yes, I would fade Utah State.
Everybody thought New Mexico was going to do something last year.
That's very true. In fact, I bet on them against Clemson.
That was
They're favored
the
as an 11.
the sexiest 11 seed of all
It
time,
was.
and Clemson mucked it up and was able to win. But yeah, so credit to Boise, and to a lesser extent, like Cincinnati beat Baylor at home, VCU beat George Mason, the number 1 A10 competitor, by 15 at home. Georgia beats Florida at home. Oklahoma beats Mississippi State at home, and boy, did they get close to beating Kentucky as well.
Man.
San Diego State got a big win this week, beating New Mexico, aforementioned New Mexico. Like that's a lot of bubble teams that got a Q1 win
Yep.
or borderline Q1 win this week. That's positive. That's not the worst bubble ever. It's not. End that silly
This
statement or stance.
this year could be one of the best bubbles ever, Jim. If we're gonna put it that way. There's a lot of teams I think deserving, and unfortunately, what that all means, what you just said, all listed off all those teams. That's bad for UC San Diego. That's bad for Drake. That's bad for Irvine. Irvine's not at it, but UC San Diego and Drake, basically the only 2 true mid-major chances at an at-large. All those teams winning, that's bad news bears for those 2 teams.
Yeah, just please go win your conference
Just win your
tournaments. I don't want to have to deal with it. And there's also so many candidates for bid stealers. Like you can go down the leagues, like the ACC, A10, American, the three top alphabetical leagues. Sorry, America East could all have a bid stealer. It scares me. I don't want to see that. I want to see the teams that earned it all season. But Kai, that is the magic of March, and I'll have to take it if somebody pulls an NC State and somebody pulls a was it UAB that won the
UAB won last year,
UAB
American.
one last
Yeah,
year? Yeah,
yep,
yeah,
and plenty of other bid stealers last year too. Yeah,
yep.
A10
So
got Richmond, right? And then
yeah, it's
Duquesne.
there's
Sorry, Duquesne. Duquesne won the A10
Duquesne's the one,
last
and
year.
they
Yeah,
ended up winning a tournament game. Yeah, so it does all come down to if you're playing well at the end of the year. But I just the essence of this thought is to hat tip a lot of bubble teams that have actually gone out and gotten the wins they needed this week, making the discussion a little more difficult in the bubble room.
indeed, Jim. Just wait till we get to 90 tournament teams, and then it truly will be the worst bubble ever in that
Yeah,
sense.
save that sentiment for when the tournament expands.
Well, let's keep going with this theme here, this tournament theme. And Jim mentioned bid stealers. Well, how about auto bid stealers? And what I mean by that is which leagues this year, and usually from the mid major, the auto bid leagues, which leagues will be chaos in conference tournament time, aka which leagues are going to see some bizarre representatives. First of all, I'm going to start with the crimes against basketball. If any of it happens, every single year, I want to see the best teams in the country get in the tournament from the mid-major ranks. You fall in love with these teams all year. You go to bat for them, and then some of them, unfortunately, don't win their tournament. So from the Big West, if anybody gets in besides UC San Diego or UC Irvine, I'm shedding a tear with respect to CSUN. Those two teams, one of them deserves to make it, and Riverside. Apologies for Riverside. Really hope one of them wins the auto bid for the Big West. In the WAC, anyone but Grand Canyon. Apologies to
Oh,
Utah Valley. You're just
poor Utah Valley.
Utah Valley's a fake fraud, in my opinion.
Wow.
I don't
Wow.
think.
Kai said it. Say it with your chest, Kai.
Yeah, Grand Canyon's the best team in this league. Deserves to make it. Big South, anyone but High Point. Give us High Point. We wanted them last year. They failed. They're by far the best team in this league. Really hope they make the tournament. Would be
Yeah.
one of their first ever. I think they've made it before, but maybe it would be their first tournament.
Pretty nervous about how well Winthrop's playing in that conference.
Yeah,
They are
and they're
torching teams. They were up like 50 on Longwood
yep.
last night.
Mm-hmm.
Longwood, the team that won this event last year. Although High Point did beat them by 20 at home. So
Yeah,
maybe High Point's got it on them this year.
Longwood's made it 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4, something like that for Big South. Maybe 2 out of 3.
Two out of three. Old Griff Aldrich
Yeah,
is pretty darn good.
a really good coach, Griff Aldridge. Southland, anyone but McNeese. It would be shocking to see McNeese not come out of the Southland, but stranger things have happened in March, of course.
I
Miak,
believe the tournament is at
is that McNeese too?
again.
In Lake
It
Charles?
was last
Yeah.
year. Yeah, I'll verify that in a second here.
I'm going to go say Miak, Norfolk. I think this team is by far the best team in that league. They deserve it. So hopefully Robert Jones gets back to the tournament. He's had
Yep,
several bids in the past.
confirmed McNeese at Lake Charles. But
Good. And then the NEC, Central Connecticut. Come on, man. Come on. They deserve it. Crime against humanity if they don't make it.
yeah, I don't need LIU or Fairleigh
No.
Dickinson from that league. It's been very clear all season who the best one in the conference is. I'm double checking now. I believe they're the only team inside the top 300 in
And
the
they're like
NEC.
top 200 almost, I think.
Yeah, they're 172nd.
Yeah.
Second best team is 294th, which again,
It's a
real
gap.
quick, LIU being there speaks to how good of a coach Gerald Gillian is.
Yep.
Chicago State collapses without him. LIU, who was terrible without him, suddenly is competent. But CCSU, please get their Blue Devils.
Okay, let's talk about the bizarre reps, the candidates here for chaos. The Valley, I think it's going to get weird, Jim. I love Drake. I love Bradley. But there are like 8 teams that can win this conference tournament. And I think we're going to get a weird representative from the Valley, unfortunately.
Yeah, the Drake formula of playing so slow and methodically low possession does leave you a little exposed to variance in a game. Like they're not going to out talent teams. They execute really well, but they're also like surprisingly leaky with the ball for a really well coached team. And they have no depth. Like if a one or two guys fouls out, they're heavily reliant on their top 3 or 4. So that is a concern.
And this is just like this credits how good Bennett Sturts is. you see Bennett Sturts, Drake's best player, and you're like, can't we just like guard this guy? He's not doing anything like flashy. He's just shooting the ball. He's just making good plays, and he's the leading scorer in the Valley, in the leading minutes in D1. And you look at him, you're like, this guy? Yeah, they can't figure him out. Drake's got a great team. The SoCon Gym has 6 teams between 100 and 150 in KenPom. Anybody's guess who comes out of there. The Summit, I'm a little worried about. I'm hoping it's South Dakota State, North Dakota State, Omaha, but you could get a flyer team. St. Thomas is not eligible yet. I would include them, of course, if they were.
I have a take. I have a take there.
Oh, please do.
Everyone is in love with North Dakota State. They finished 4th in this league.
I can't believe
it's cool. They
It's
shoot a
shocking.
lot of threes,
Shocking.
and Jackson Money is a ton of fun.
Hmm.
But like every time somebody talks about like, oh, best teams in this league, they're in there. Like they finished 4th in a true double round robin. I
It's wild.
get out. I don't want you, Bison. I know you shoot a ton of threes and you're fun. I don't want you.
North Dakota State and North Florida, the two most like the non-con darlings, beating power conference teams and just crapping the bed in their conference. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. They will get smoked if they make the tournament, North Dakota State.
Unless they make
Unless they make
17
100
threes,
yeah.
which is possible, yeah.
The two biggest clusters, Jim, in my opinion, the Coastal, the CAA, pick a team. This league's weird a lot. Like Drexel's won this league as a 6th or 7th seed before. I don't think it's going to be Towson. It's going to be someone weird. Sunbelt, they're basically the Colonial or the Coastal 2.0. Again, pick a team. It's going to be weird with those leagues.
Remember the Sunbelt format where the bottom seeds have to win
True.
7 games in 7 days.
Mhm.
It is the ultimate ladder setup. Stucky tweeted about it yesterday, which was a good reminder. That's right. Okay, there's 2 teams are in this.
Watch out for the chaos here. Horizon, Cluster, Robert Morris won the league, but they're not the best team, at least in my opinion right now. Big Sky Gym is going to be a big bloodbath. Montana State has won it, I think, 2 years in a row with 2 different coaches. I think they're the number 1 team in KenPom, too, in the league, or at least number 2.
They were. Montana
were.
has now passed them after
Oh,
a
really?
couple good performances, but Northern Colorado is the number 1. Montana State, I don't understand how they're under 500 in a
I
bad
don't get
league
it either.
this year.
ASUN, sadly, Lipscomb's in trouble because this league is nuts. Last year was the best conference tournament in the country. Again, we'll talk about the ASUN soon. And then the Metro Atlantic, the MAC, 6 teams between 196 and 255. Good luck picking a team coming from this league, Jim. I know who I'm going to pick, but I'll holster it for our pick section. I think MAC actually starts the following week, so you might have to wait a week for our picks on that one. But those are the candidates to get weird, I think, Jim, this season in the conference tournaments.
Yeah, I would agree. There's just a lot of mess. I mean, even if the 1 seed wins in the Metro Atlantic, I'll feel like it's weird because none of those teams have been overly convincing all season. So yeah, probably a 16 seed coming out of there.
All right, Jim, your second thought.
Second thought, just a couple reeling squads. I wanted to talk, Kai, at different levels of the sport and see where we feel about them, how we would rank them. So it's just 3 discussions. The first one, Texas A&M versus Iowa State. The Aggies have lost 3 in a row, including 2 at home. And Iowa State's lost 2 in a row, including at Oklahoma State. Now, there's context on both of these. Iowa State's been hurt. Keyshawn Gilbert missed both games. Curtis Jones missed one of them. A&M lost to Tennessee, not bad. And on the road at Mississippi State, also not bad. Not Mississippi State. But
they lost to
regardless.
Mississippi State, A&M.
Okay, good. Got that right.
And Tennessee and Vanderbilt at home. Yeah.
Yep. But regardless, which they're both like kind of the 2-3 seed area. Who do you feel better about going forward, Kai? And you can factor in anything you want with injuries and that sort of thing here.
Iowa State, Jim, 100%. I think Iowa State's the better team. A&M is what everyone thinks Houston is every single year this season, and they're not, because they're not a good offensive team. Houston is a good offensive team every single year. A&M is not. They are an incredible rebounding team, and they get to the line. They're one of the worst free throw shooting teams in the country. They're an awful three-point shooting team, and they can't finish. They are in trouble, like they are every single season. I do not have confidence in A&M making a deep run. Iowa State, I would feel a lot better with. Their guard play is awesome. They're deep, and their defense is there too. So Iowa State is the one I feel better about.
I'll say Iowa State has higher ceiling, but I'm really worried about Gilbert and some of the
Right. If they're hurt, that's a problem. Yes.
Yeah, it's like not just hurt with him, like the rumors you hear about what else might be going on with him, that concerns me. I don't want to like say something out of turn and just or if you want to look into that, you can try to do your own research or whatever. But I'm not positive he'll be there down the stretch run or be the best version of himself, which scares me.
That's a problem.
A&M at least has a high floor. I don't think that team's getting upset by anyone because of the offensive
Yep.
rebounding and the
It's hard to
defense.
upset them.
But as they play better competition that can take care of the ball and make threes, that sort of unlocks that defense a little bit. And that's what Vanderbilt did. So the other, or the next one, Kai, three teams kind of in similar areas of the bracket. Purdue, Kansas, Marquette, kind of the 4, 5, 6
Oof,
seeds lines
tough.
of the bracket. Purdue's lost four in a row. At first, it was like, okay, they lost three to the top three teams in the conference, but then they got hammered by Indiana and in the second half. That scared me. Kansas has at least won two games in a row. Dominic Dickinson, he was great at Colorado. I don't personally think they're back. And then Marquette, I zeroed in on this a little more. They haven't had a good win since January 3rd when they beat Creighton. I mean, we're going on 2 months of them. All they've done is beat Providence, DePaul, Georgetown. Like I'm unimpressed. They're 0-4 in that span against Xavier, UConn, St. John's, and Creighton. I'm concerned about all three of these to varying degrees. Kai, how would you rank them going forward?
Yeah, I don't feel very good about any of them making a deep run. I think all of them are prone to being upset in the. I think Purdue probably gets like a three still. I got to do my bracketing, but between the 4 and 6 for for Marquette, Kansas, depending, maybe even 7 for Marquette now the way they're dropping. Kansas, gun to my head. I feel best about Jim because of the defense. They're still a top 5 defensive team. That travels, but I don't feel good about them. I would say Purdue, but you're right. The rim protection is a huge problem. Uh, I love Matt Painter. I don't. I think that's a real issue for them though in the tournament setting. I don't feel confident about them making a deep run.
Big Ten opponents are shooting almost 60% from two against Purdue.
That's
It,
tough.
it is like total sieve. And I think someone in the Discord was like, if you get near the rim, it is a basket. They do not bother you. They have, they've been trying to play Will Berg and Raleigh Burgess, and it's just like these guys aren't, they're not capable right now. So Daniel Jacobson injury definitely being felt there. I will rank them Marquette one,
Really.
Purdue two, Kansas three. I'm really skeptical of Kansas still.
And they each have an
But
All American. They each have Cam Jones, Braden Smith, Hunter Dickinson are All American
yeah,
players.
yep, and really good coaches. Chaka maybe not quite the Painter Bill Self
Mhm.
tier, but coaches that I have relative confidence in. Although if you're a little more a casual fan, just sees like Shaka Smart's been really bad in the tournament.
Really bad
So
since
maybe
VCU.
there's since VCU, yeah, maybe there's something to that. We will see. Okay, and the last one, Baylor and UConn, two teams fading toward the bubble that
Oof.
have a couple star freshmen. They both have a guy from the Montverde team last year, coaches that have won national titles. I am really concerned about Baylor. We mentioned the defense with Purdue. Baylor's got nobody over 6'7", unless Celestine scares you at the rim. He was a wing, or he is a wing. There's a chance Baylor falls out of the tournament entirely.
Yeah, they're heading that way. They're 8 and 9 in the Big 12, which is wild. And only 16 and 12, Jim. To your point, if they lose, I don't think they're going to lose to Oklahoma State or TCU, but they're going to lose to Houston most likely. And that's 13 losses. You're 18 and 13 heading into the Big 12. You lose again, 18 and 14. It's very possible they miss the tournament. I feel much better about UConn. I don't feel great about UConn. They couldn't cover against Georgetown, right? They like that was the game they should smash. Like UConn back every time UConn back smash. They don't have that gear right now, but the coaching staff is still a huge advantage for this team, and I think they're going to be fine. And they could still make a run in the tournament. I'm not saying Final Four, but they can win a couple games.
Yeah, their defense just sucks, man.
It sucks.
It's not good. Like you get a lot of free points. They don't pressure you. Like sub 15% defensive turnover rate in league play is really bad for UConn. And when you're also fouling, like you can't not foul or force turnovers. You have to do one or the other. And to not be able to do that is really weird. Georgetown without Sorber, they couldn't get away from him. That is concerning to say the least. But like you said, a one game turnaround or a one game plan. I do believe in Murray and Young to
Yeah.
scheme something up, but teams are going to score on them no matter what. So I I guess I feel better about UConn, but not great. Okay, Kai, your second thought before we pick a couple conference
Yeah, a
tournaments.
little hiatus from team talk here. I'm going intentional fouls and reffing, Jim, because I watched the whole Arkansas Texas game, and I'm very aware of what happened in Vanderbilt and A&M. That game lasted like 100 hours in real life time. So I was on Arkansas, and I'm glad the ref called a flagrant for my wallet for them to cover. But what are we doing? Every single foul at the end of a game is an intentional foul. We know it. The refs know it. The teams know it. It's literally what they're trying to do. They're trying to foul. You say you go for the ball, sure. But also hacking a guy as hard as you can while aiming at the ball is an intentional foul. Your intent is not to steal the ball, it's to foul. Some refs reward smart teams, Jim, by giving fouls off the ball when teams try to hug bad shooters. That's what I would do if I was a coach. I would say, go hug the worst free throw shooter on the team and hope the ref calls it. No time runs off, and some refs reward them. That's kind of what Texas tried to do against Arkansas. They held Adu running down the floor. They did pick up the foul, but of course now with the review in this day and age, the refs reviewed it, called a flagrant on it. To me, unless you're hurting a guy, you let that go. You either call it a foul or you don't call it at all, knowing the intention of the play. It should never be a flagrant. I think it's ridiculous. The reviews in general have gotten to nonsense territory. The A&M game lasted, like we said, like 2.5, 3 hours. There was less than 7 minutes in Kentucky-Oklahoma game, the next window after A&M and Vanderbilt. These 2-hour window games just can't handle it. So it really is a shame. I wish we could stop all the reviews. I wish we could stop the madness at the end of the games, Jim. But unfortunately, it's the world we live in right now.
Yeah, that intentional foul in the Arkansas Texas game was brutal because it happens a lot and you don't see it called consistently. And obviously, yeah, we get what they were doing, but by the rule, it is an intentional foul. It's I always don't like to, Kai, when a team's trying to foul and the refs don't call it. And then you have to really hack a guy and people get up in arms about how physical the foul was. It's like you know the plan. Everybody knows what's happening here, as you're saying, Kai. The refs know what's happening. Call it as they're trying to play it.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they have to touch the guy for it to be the foul and let it go if they miss. But yeah, some of this stuff can get messy and maddening. And of course, we hate reviews. We always say that.
We do. And one play in particular just stood out to me in Arkansas. It's either the Arkansas game or the A&M game. A guy fouled a guy on the block. His arm was kind of high. Immediately, a ref calls a foul, and immediately he signals review. And it's just like, what? Come on. The guy's not
crutch.
hurt.
It's such a
just
crutch
like,
for them, though.
we don't need to do this. It's just wasting time. I know I've ranted about this quite a few times, but it serves to do it again, Jim, because maybe, just maybe, someone out there will listen to us or the discourse from other people about this stuff, because it's crap. It really does ruin the sport, and hopefully it doesn't ruin March this season when we get to the tournament.
Yeah, we'll see which game will end up being maddeningly long and living it through reviews. I mean, people will make all kinds of cracks about it, wisecracks, and maybe the competition committee will listen. We can only hope. We'll see.
Indeed. Okay. That ends 3-Man Thoughts. Thank you for listening to our ramblings and rantings. Let's head to some conference tournament previews. This is usually our preview section in general for games heading on the weekend. We do a best bet show tomorrow. We'll take you through the entire slate of Saturday from a betting angle and, of course, give you our picks for tomorrow. But for this week, I thought it would be a good idea to go through next week's conference tournaments, not in detail. We'll be covering them in detail on other platforms, so just pay attention to Action Network, pay attention to our Twitter and our Discord, and we'll let you know where we're doing that stuff. So, Jim, for this exercise, and we don't have Matt, so we can go a little quickly here. I'll give a quick favorite overview of the conference, pick a dark horse, and give us your pick for the tournament, if you would. This is off the cuff. You're not held to this forever, but let's do it. Have some fun. So the ASUN tips off on Sunday. It's going to be a nuts conference tournament. We had so many overtime games and close games last year, a lot of upsets. It was great. This year, Lipscomb is the favorite, number 1 seed. UNA, North Alabama is the 2 seed. They tied for the league, the title. The dark horse, Jim, in this league, I'm saying North Florida. A team that beat South Carolina, among other teams in the non-con, can shoot the crap out of the ball, can't play defense. My pick in this league, Jim, I'm going the Lions in North Alabama.
I'll pick Lipscomb and be the square, holding up my square. This is a home venue site format, so or is it? Wait.
Um,
Oh, I think
they do,
as they get later in, they do.
yeah. It starts on neutrals, and I think Lipscomb does host their two games, like the semis and whatever it is. Yes,
Yeah, so I'll go with Lipscomb. I agree with North Florida as the team that can just kind of throw a wrench in the mix. They were very good in the non-con. They can get hot from deep, and that zone is so funky. Like I think teams were better at it against it the second time through in their rematches, but with much shorter prep time. And this isn't a back-to-back type of tournament, so it's not. I guess it's not like immediate turnarounds, but I do think it can kind of be a strange little curveball that disrupts you when you're just kind of trying to focus on yourselves and playing your best ball, and you have to prepare for this goofy defense. I don't think they're going to win it, but I think they get hot, upset a team or two, and hope it's not Lipscomb.
agreed. Sunbelt Gym tips off on Tuesday. You mentioned that this conference tournament, it is staggered. 14 teams make the tournament, all 14 teams, and it is like uh, 2 teams per day. And every like the next team gets bye. So the bottom 4 teams play the first day. The next 2 teams have a bye, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's going on for like 5 days straight. So the teams that finished 1-2 have a bye all the way to the semis right now. So the deck is stacked towards them. That's James Madison, and I think right now that's South Alabama. I think they have a tiebreaker over Arkansas State and Troy, who are the other teams kind of fighting for that. The dark horse here, I don't like to bet against App State because Dustin Kearns is the man, and his defense is always good. The champion in this league, Jim, it's kind of a choose your adventure. Pick anybody you want. I think Arkansas State's the best team, but I might go with Troy as my pick for the podcast here.
That's a Matt Cox memorial pick.
It
But
is.
he's not here to back Scott Cross. I respect that. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough to pick this one until you see the final bracket because
Exactly.
the movement with the top couple seeds it really, really matters in how many you're going to have to win. I don't think anyone past the top 4 can win it. I think both Georgia schools are bad. I think both Louisiana schools are bad. Southern Miss, no thank you. Coastal, really bad.
Marshall.
Texas State, maybe the way they slow things down, but they haven't done that good in the postseason in this event in the past. You know, I picked James Madison in the preseason to win this conference. I'm gonna roll with it, Kai. I'll say the Dukes. Preston Spradlin's been pretty good in the postseason himself. I'll say the Dukes. I don't know what they're gonna do on Friday at Texas State, if they're gonna pull off the outright conference title or not, but I'll say they win the tournament.
I love preseason coming back, Jim, in the conference tournaments. One of my favorite things. The Horizon tips off on the same day. Again, another cluster. Robert Morris is getting the 1 seed. Are they the favorite? That's up for interpretation. Milwaukee is actually the best team in the league per KenPom. I think they're going to get the 2 seed. They're tied right now with Cleveland State and Youngstown. The dark horse, Purdue Fort Wayne for me. I think the team was chosen to win the league in the preseason. That's who I'm going to pick, Jim, in this league. In fantastic guard play. Arguably the best player in the league in Jalen Jackson. Great offense. I'm going with the Mastodons.
Yeah, this is a chaos league for sure. Like Oakland could do something with their zone and their shooting. We saw it last year, and they've got some gunners again this season. And then Northern Kentucky also playing pretty well lately. They won 6 of their last 8. They're one of the few teams that actually competed with Robert Morris over the past 2 months. Only lost by 5 in that game. They've got the zone that typically plays up well in this event. I'll say Northern Kentucky is my dark horse. As for actual winner, I'm going to say Bart Lundy gets the job done, and Milwaukee crosses the finish line.
Love it, Jim. Yeah, we love Bart. We love the Milwaukee Panthers. The Patriot also tips off on Tuesday. Colgate did not win this league. After like a 6-0 start, they're 10-7 in this conference. Horrible. Bucknell and American are currently tied for the top seeds. I think this is top seed hosts all the way through. You have to correct me if I'm wrong on that one, Jim.
Yeah, with reseeding, I believe.
With reseeding.
Yes.
Having said that, I'm going Colgate. I still stubbornly think they're the best team in this league, or at least can be. They're the best offensive team. I can't bet against Matt Langel. until I see it's proven that he'll lose in the conference tournament. I think they've won 4 straight seasons, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the only one they
Straight.
haven't won in the last like 6 was the COVID tournament, and poor
Boston
Boston
U.
U didn't even get to actually play
Yep.
in the NCAA tournament in that one. Yeah, Colgate's had some weird ups and downs with Jalen Cox like playing poor. Like he had an ankle injury, then he came back and played well, then got benched a little bit for playing poorly, and seems really good lately. Jeff Woodward, their veteran leader, got hurt and came back and has been a mega stud in the paint. I will go with American though. I think
Red, white, and
despite
blue.
the loss to Navy, the loss to the Water Troops this week. They go to Colgate in the conference finale here. So maybe I want them to lose that game so they have a little more fire in them. But they've also had some kind of ins and outs with their lineup, and they look fully healthy now. I like Simpkins and I like their backcourt. So I will go with the Eagles.
Jim, Wednesday, the OVC tips off. Yes, Wednesday. Again, Choose Your Adventure League. SEMO is winning this league by 3 games. That is insane to me. For me, Little Rock is still the best team, and that's who I'm going to pick. If you want a dark horse, you can pick any team you want. UT Martin has a lot of talent. They can make some noise, I guess, in the middle of the league. This league's bad overall, Jim. I'm going Little Rock.
Yeah, my sleeper would be Tennessee State if
Tennessee
Brandon
State.
Weston comes back.
Yeah.
I don't know what his status is. He's missed the last 6 games, and he's kind of a cheat code, former Rhode Island and Seton Hall guy in this conference. Like he's unguardable on the wing. But if he's not back, that they probably don't have quite the ceiling. I don't know. As you mentioned, I don't like this league. I think whoever gets into the NCAA tournament and plays in the first 4 is probably going to lose in that game. So I will also go Little Rock. They've been so KK Robinson just never came back. Is he gonna be in college again next year?
I don't know.
That'll be an interesting
Good
event to
saga.
find out.
Big South also tips off Wednesday. Tragedy if High Point doesn't win this. They're by far the best team. Almost 100 spots higher in KenPom than the next best team. They are a top 30 offense in the country. Their defense is not good, but it's the best in the league, which is saying something. It's a very efficient league. High Point's my pick, Jim. You want a dark horse? We've talked about how Longwood was really good in this league every single year, this conference tournament, excuse me. Radford's actually the number 2 team, but you mentioned Winthrop's hot, and UNC Asheville is always there as well. But for me, I'm going High Point.
Yeah, at the risk of jinxing, I'm not even going to pick a dark horse. It's High Point for me. I got to go with them. I need to see them win. Demarion Williams has missed the last 3 games for them. He was at Gardner-Webb, then Texas Tech, now back here at High Point in the conference, and he's been awesome for them. But there's like no deeper mid-major team, no deeper mid-major roster in the entire country, so they can still survive his absence. And the big difference maker for them is Bodo, the monster big man, best 2-way rebounder on the team, probably in all of mid-major basketball, and also a really good shot blocker and finisher. I think to go with the perimeter talent they have, Bodo separates them.
He's a freak. If you haven't watched him play, hopefully you get to see him in the tournament. The Summit, this league is also pretty wide open. There's some intrigue in this one because St. Thomas cannot make the tournament, but they might be the best team in the conference. South Dakota State is the highest ranked in KenPom. Omaha right now is actually the top seed, which is nuts. Chris Crutchfield, fantastic job. North Dakota State had all the headlines from the non-con. Any of those 4 teams winning it would not shock me. So, Jim, we might get a St. Thomas win situation. And then I don't know if this league does the second place team in the championship or if it gives it to the league winner. Have to look at that. But I'm going the Jack Bunnies. I'm going South Dakota State, tried and true. Oscar Clough is a dominant force in this league.
Yeah, Clough it's kind of not fair to have to figure out how to, regenerate or reorganize your defense to double the post every single time. You front the post and get a second guy on him because otherwise he will go for 30 and 20. I'm going to say St. Thomas wins.
Love it.
Go for the chaos scenario. And if they do, the auto bid goes to the highest seeded postseason eligible. So Omaha hanging on to that 1 seed would be extremely crucial because then they have 2 outs to making the big dance. So keep an eye on that race, but I will pick the Tommies.
Excellent. Good job, Jim. One of us had to. Also, Wednesday, NEC. We talked about Central Connecticut, 120 spots higher than anybody else in this league in KenPom. It would be a tragedy if they lose this conference tournament. Chicago State, Jim, is in this. They're going to be a 7 right now. They're tied with Lemoyne for the basement in this league.
Stop it. Stop
How
it.
fun would it be? Is there a dark horse? I don't even know, man. I mean, Central Connecticut's lost 2 games in this conference. They lost to Wagner. They lost to LIU. Wagner would usually be my dark horse pick. They're truly awful. I can't quit this team, but they're truly awful. Central Connecticut is the pick, and gosh, I hope they win.
This is a weird ass tournament because Lemoyne, Stonehill, Mercyhurst are all ineligible
Yeah,
for the
three
NCAA
teams.
tournament.
Yeah.
So 6 of your 9 cannot actually make it. Central Connecticut's gonna mow through this. At least I desperately hope they do. But they actually kind of got out of the gate slow in league play. Started 2-2, and now they've won 11 in a row. They're really rolling. I think they continue to do so through the tournament.
Okay, my favorite conference tournament starts off on Thursday, the 6th. That's the Missouri Valley Arch Madness in St. Louis. It's awesome. It's a freaking awesome tournament. I love it so much. Drake is likely. No, they are. They're the 1 seed. They won this league. Bradley, Northern Iowa are 2 and 3. But it's deep. There's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams in the top 150. Another one in the top 160 with UIC. Even the last place team, Missouri State, isn't that bad. It's going to be a lot of intrigue. I want Drake to win this league, Jim, or this tournament. I'm probably ultimately going to choose Drake, but Bradley's right there. It's a hard one to choose. For the sake of this one, I will say Murray State's a huge dark horse.
Yes, totally agree.
I think that's the team that underperformed this season and has the capability of winning it. But I will pick Drake and be boring.
I'm gonna pick Bradley. I think they get the rubber match against Drake. They split on each other's home floors this year, and both teams make the tourney.
Oh, love
That's
it.
my prediction.
I love it.
Yes.
If you want an offensive high variance team, Illinois State or Belmont both fit that bill. Just don't think they can defend anybody to win the tournament. Okay, the WCC, Jim, Gonzaga's league. Yes, Gonzaga might need to win this conference tournament to make the tournament. I actually kind of doubt that. I think they'll be fine either way. But I believe this stacks it as well, conference tournament format, to where the top 2 seeds are in the semis already.
Yeah, and a pretty big game on Saturday for that 2nd seed. Gonzaga, San Francisco head to head. The winner gets the 2 seed. It would be the first time in the history of the WCC tournament doing that format that Gonzaga wouldn't have the auto bye to the semis, which is basically a rule designed for them so that they would be limited on upsets and having to play more games. So it would be shocking. They go to San Francisco on Saturday for that berth. I think Gonzaga wins it though. I think they finally get a couple of the big wins that they need. I think they beat San Francisco and they don't lose 3 times to St. Mary's.
I'm going Zags as well, Jim. But what a story it would be if neither St. Mary's or Gonzaga won this, and we got a San Francisco or a Santa Clara or a gasp Oregon State Beavers in the tournament. Matt's Beavers. What a story it would be.
Beavers would be fun. The Peyton heads would go nuts. The late twist on Gonzaga is playing my guy Ismaila Diane. He came off the bench because of foul trouble in the first half against Santa Clara, and like just holy crap, they have a guy that can run and jump like this, 7-footer. I was surprised he hadn't played more this year, and a Gonzaga fan let me know he had a small knee issue and was ill, and then a concussion. Like he's had a injury marred season, but he could be a late needle mover for them, given the way he impacted that Santa Clara game.
Agreed, Jim. Okay, 2 more to go. These tip off on Friday. We do have a podcast next Friday, but wanted to hit them real quick because we don't have enough time to talk about them next week. The SoCon, very wide open. Like I said, 6 teams right now are in the top 152 in KenPom. Chattanooga's getting the 1 seed, but any of those 6 teams, in my opinion, can win, including Furman. Jim, who wins this one, man? It's going to be tough. I might do a little flyer, ETSU.
I don't hate that at all. They're right in that mix. I don't think I believe enough in Wofford. I'm going to say Furman makes a little bit of a run.
Yeah.
Chattanooga just looked so good to me against Greensboro. Like they've got a lot of different pieces that are finally actually working well together. They've got shooting, they've got size, they've got guard play. I'm tempted to pick them because they're playing so freaking well right now. They've won 10 in a row themselves.
Yeah.
But this tournament typically does not go to the default kind of 1 seed. So yeah, I'll go with Furman, Kai. How's that?
I like it. I like it a lot. Finally, the Coastal CAA. Towson is the 1 seed in this one. Looks like Wilmington's the 2, Charleston's the 3. Again, wide open. Like I can see Elon winning this as a dark horse. I can see Drexel being annoying and winning this. We don't want Drexel. Monmouth has been coming on. Campbell, if they didn't have that injury, I'd feel pretty fun and flirty about them. William and Mary, Charleston, Jim. Gosh, I'm going Chris Mack and Charleston, I think, though, at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's a solid pick. I don't think Towson will win, unfortunately. They're deep, but kind of the methodical style doesn't wow me in this. Another tournament that I think can get a little bit topsy-turvy. We had a big Stony Brook run to the finals last year that was relatively shocking. William and Mary's too inconsistent, too bad defensively. I'll go with Wilmington. I'll say Takeo Siddle gets his first NCAA tournament bid after four. This is his fourth straight 21 season. I think the Seahawks finally make it.
Love it. All right, Jim. Good brief conference tournament overview. Fantastic. Let's end the show with some reviews really quick. Just two. And again, out there, thank you for listening. If you don't want to stick around with the review section, hey, join us tomorrow, 10 a.m. Central, for a Best Bet show, talking Saturday's slate, gambling, all that good stuff. But two reviews from Kevin J9, long shot title odds. Ooh, best college basketball podcast. Hooray. Who do you guys like right now at 50 to 1 or longer to win it all? Wish I got more on Mizzou at 125 and to 1 a month ago. He said he saw Creighton, Marquette, Illinois, and Oregon at 100 to 1 last week. And he also says, keep calling out Dan Hurley. I'm rooting for them to miss the tournament.
Love that.
Jim, do you have any names?
Yeah, Oregon, I think, is one that you just got to look at. They're 175 to 1 at Caesars right now.
Jeez.
We've seen they can beat elite teams. They have been great in postseasons before under Altman. I don't think they're going to win it, but I think they are absolutely capable of going on a run. Looking at some of the others, I mean, Mississippi State's pretty high ceiling, but a little bit erratic. Creighton is probably a good shout by him because you've got the 1-2 punch in the paint and on the perimeter. They've never been to the Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
Oregon's the one that just like instantly comes to mind when I see this question.
Yep.
So I guess that's who I'll say. I would also just add, and I know they're a little further down in KenPom, but Texas A&M 60 to 1 is outside of 51. They're going to be a 2 seed, like
Wow.
or 2 or 3 seed, despite. And I know they've
Good
lost
price,
a couple
by the
in a
way.
row.
They're 30 to 1
Yeah.
at DraftKings.
Okay, so yeah, again, we always say shop around. I would take a look at that, but yeah, Oregon's probably my favorite answer to this question.
Yeah, if you want like a seed, like A&M's a great choice. If you can get 60 to 1, they'll be a top 4 seed. I think St. Mary's going to be a pretty high seed. They're 80 to 1. If you want KenPom, Gonzaga's 60 to 1 and number 11 in KenPom. I think they're a pretty good bet value-wise. They're not going to be a very high seed unless they win the last couple games, and their analytics might get them up a little bit higher in the S-curve. But yeah, those are a couple. I'll have to go super in-depth with that one.
Kentucky's 50 to 1 at Caesars, which I bet is higher than almost anywhere else. If Robinson and Butler are both in there, it's kind of a different team.
Mm-hmm.
They beat Duke in the non-conference. Like that's a 1 seed. I wouldn't mind a flyer there. I know Pope's never won a tournament game, and that's probably going to be a stick in the mud or a reason not to back them for some people. But Missouri's also 50 to 1. If we're going by his standards here, they're 50 to 1 at Caesars.
Again, good
You
price.
can find some good values.
Shop around.
Caesars typically has good prices. Yeah.
Finally, from it's just a random letters. Best podcast. Enjoyable listening every week. What is the week consensus on Anthony Grant? Is it fair to expect a school as funded as Dayton to make the tournament more often, despite being in a mid-major league? I think Anthony Grant is a good coach, Jim. I think it's getting close to the time to move on from Anthony Grant. He's had a good run. He hasn't made a lot of tournaments, it's true. He got screwed during COVID when they were a 1 seed. I think it's time to move on from Anthony Grant.
Yeah, I probably another year, but it does feel a little stale, and it's tough because it's his alma mater, and
He's done a good job.
That always makes things trickier. But it does feel like maybe for the best of both parties to part ways and try to restart. I don't know. I totally agree with the premise. Dayton is super well funded, well supported. I would expect a little bit more postseason type success from a school of that ilk.
Agreed. All right. That does it. Thank you for joining us on our weekly 3-Man Week College Basketball Podcast. Next week is March, fellas. In fact, tomorrow's March. Can't wait. I say fellas because I can see Matsuyoshi in the YouTube channel. Please, again, subscribe to the pod. Like it. Like YouTube. Subscribe to YouTube. We'll see you tomorrow for the Best Bet Show. If not, we'll see you next week for another podcast episode. Till then, have fun with college basketball. Enjoy the conference tournament madness. And join the GOAT pool. Join it. Join it. Okay.